What's up, everybody? It's Goomer22 back with another video. This isn't a tier list per se. I didn't want to go through the trouble of just downloading all the sprites and whatnot, but I figured now that week 4 is basically over for everybody, it'd be a good time to talk about transactions or transaction potential. Since, you know, we've gotten to see how our team plays in a couple games. You might be in a position where you feel like you're doing well, you feel like you've learned your team. You also might be in a position where you feel like your team's not performing as well as you had hoped, and you might want to make a few transactions if you have any left over. I know some people have made some already. I've still been considering some. I've squeaked by on a couple of my wins where I definitely could have lost, and so still not super confident in my team, but yeah, I'm definitely considering some transactions, especially because I think the tiering was done really well, and there's still a lot of good options out here. So let's just jump into it and check out some of the mods that are still available, which you might not even realize. Be like, how did no one pick that up? Amoonguss, I think, is definitely one. Amoonguss is really solid. Even though I think generally Rage Powder in Draft isn't as good because you can just kind of prep around it with safety goggles, it forces your opponent to waste an item on that, and Amoonguss is super hard to one-shot, and so just getting, you know, an easy 2 redirects off, or even just a Spore, it's so annoying. And there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with Amoonguss. Conkeldurr, not bad. Tough pick for tier 1. Darmanitan, Galar. Maybe if you need a lot more offense on your team, you could snag Darmanitan, Galar. I mean, it definitely gives you immediate offensive pressure. So does Conk, but Conk's just not as fast. Dusclops, I don't super like it in draft, mainly because you want to run Eviolite on it, and it has a lot of supportive moves. I mean, you can do Shadow Sneak weakness policy stuff if you have a good Ghost or Psychic to do that with. So that's potential, because then it's a situation where people can't just automatically taunt it or just like knock off or something. Now Entei I really love in draft. You can go physical or special. It's pretty bulky and gets a lot of good solid moves. I mean, Sacred Fire being the main one, just the ability to burn is really powerful. And you know, fast bulldoze, inner focus I think is the key thing though. Can't be flinched. And there's also not a lot of good fire types out there, honestly. That's something I realized when I was drafting. So I kind of looked at what fire types were available and what tiers I had left to pick from, and I was like, oh crap. I was like, everybody snagged the good ones up from like tiers 3 and 4, and I was like, well, guess I'm not taking it to a fire type. But yeah, Entei's definitely a solid choice for that. Ferrothorn is another really good pick, because if you're looking at your team and you're like, you know what, I really don't have any good defensive switch-ins, Ferrothorn's a great option for that. He's also another win condition with stall, so you can, you know, do iron defense leftover stall stuff, and it's really annoying. You can do different sets on Ferrothorn too. You know, you can go AV offensive, so I think it's a really solid pick. Garchomp. Garchomp, you don't have. I used it last season, and you don't have too much variability in your sets, to be honest. I feel like you're mainly going to be just running like rock move, ground move, potentially dragon move, and you know, just like AV or Yachi Berry or something like that. But it does give you a lot of nice offensive just offensive pressure, especially paired with a nice flying type. I mean, I think it worked really well on my team because I had it with Celesteela, which is a super good partner with it. So if you have a good flying type to pair it with, it could definitely be a solid pickup. I know somebody used it in PC 4 or 3, whatever one just happened. I think it was 3. Hatterene, another really solid choice. I used that last season as well. And yeah, Hatterene is just like, Gmax Smite is so good. It actually is really hard to one-shot Dynamax Hatterene, and you know, you can go for Trick Room stuff. There's not a lot of good fairies out there either, so that's also another cool thing about Hatterene. Magic Bounce is a really good ability, and yeah, it's just a solid choice out there. Heatran, again, another one of those fires that's kind of stuck in tier 1. So if you use your tier 1 a non-fire type, you know, it might be hard to grab it, but there's not a lot of good fire types out there. I know some people don't like the 4 times weakness, but unless you have a really strong stab ground, or if you're committing your max to a max quake, I mean, you can probably live some hits from different Pokemon. You can't just throw on like a fire type. You can with Garchomp. Like you can just throw a special fire move on Pokemon, and just one shot it. With Heatran, it's not quite the same. You can't just like throw on Stomping Tantrum on any mon and just one shot it. So you don't have to run Super Berry every time, which is nice. But again, gives you a ton of special offense there. Kingdra, if you want to go with the rain mode, there's a lot of mons that get Rain Dance, just fast. You know, either a prankster mon like Purloin or something like that, or just a fast mon with Rain Dance. Or Kingdra can set up the rain on its own either, and it's you can also do some supportive sets with Kingdra actually. So I think Kingdra's a really solid choice if you really want to switch up your mode. I think that's one way you can really switch up your team really easily. Is you have a Pokemon who's fast and has Rain Dance, and all of a sudden you swap your tier 1 whatever it is out for Kingdra, and now you've got a tough rain mode. With Dynamax being able to set rain yourself too is just super nice. So I really like Kingdra as that. Landorus Incarnate, also pretty solid. I think there's maybe better options out here, but I feel like ground is sometimes a type that people just don't pick and draft for some reason. So if you're looking for a ground type, it could be solid. I'm not a huge fan of Landorus Incarnate, so I can't really advocate it. Not because I think it's that bad, I just haven't used it that much. I mean, I know Life Orb Sheer Horse will hit hard, but I don't know how often you're going to want to max it. You can run special with Weather Ball too, which is kind of interesting, but yeah, I just haven't used it enough to advocate for it, I guess. Marowak Alola, another really solid choice. They got Lightning Rod. I was actually definitely considering him in the beginning. Just that ghost immunity for fighting in normal, and then having Lightning Rod. You pair that with a strong water type, you could have a really, really solid mode for your team. Milotic, definitely annoying. You can set up Deters Intimidators. I mean, everybody knows what Milotic does. That's a solid choice. Naganadel, I don't know. It's a little frail, I feel like. I feel like it's hard to build a nice core and draft around a Naganadel, but maybe some people can do it. It's just a little too frail, I think. Now, Nihilego, the 4 times weakness is tough, but it could fit a niche on some teams for sure, I feel like. It hits super hard and it's super fast. But at least has some special bulk, whereas Naganadel is just frail on both sides. Although, it's a little faster. But yeah, Porygon Z again. If you have a good redirector, I think Porygon Z is a great choice. It just hits so hard. And the thing is, like, let's say you do have a Rage Powder user and you have Porygon Z, and it's like, yeah, they might have to force a mon, like their fighting mon, to use safety goggles. But if they're forcing their fighting type stab Pokemon to use safety goggles, it's probably not going to one-shot Porygon Z if you Dynamax or do as much damage, So that's one thing where it's like, okay, yeah, fine, you're ignoring redirection, but you're just getting a Max Drive on, and you might just OHKO them. So it's a good trade there, where it forces them to use an item that won't allow them to OHKO, Porygon Z with a close combat or something like that. Regidrago is another really, really good mon, especially if teams don't have good fairy types. Oh, it's so good. It can just catch people off guard, and you really have to prep for it. I feel like sometimes people think it's a little bit too one-trick pony for a tier 1, and I hear that, so I guess I get why it's left here. But again, if you need some more offensive pressure there. Regirock and Rhyperior, both good rock types left. Rhyperior with the Lightning Rod, super strong. Otto used it really well last season, and Regirock is nice for setup. like with Bullo's weakness policy. Well, both of them are. It's also a good, a good switch-ins. Rhyperior obviously switching for Lightning Rod, or just to take, just to take normal hits or flying hits, something like that. Regirock, same thing. Rotom Wash is another really good one that I'm actually surprised to see here, because you can do a lot of cool stuff with Rotom Wash. You can go Nasty Plot, you can go Will-O-Wisp, you can go Electroweb, annoying stuff, or you can just go like Life Orb and just go strong offense. Rotom Wash is super good for Disc Wake too. If you have a strong ground type and you just want to go Earthquake Discharge, I mean, the Rotoms are great for that. And so I think Rotom Wash is, I'm really surprised to see it here, honestly. Snorlax, you can do some cool stuff with Snorlax for sure if you put him on a good team with Redirection, I think, because you either want to set up, or if you go non-G-Max, you can do some strong max strikes, I guess. Yeah, but I feel like most of the time you're gonna want to use it in Trick Room. You can do some cheesy stuff with the G-Max form too, so that's an option. There's Therian, extremely strong. A good lightning resist because it gets Volt Absorb, but or electric resist, but it's yeah, the non-flying special stab is tough. If it had flying special stab, I would say awesome. Prince Incarnate, I don't know why it's here. I mean, 100% this should have been picked up by somebody. I know I got Therian, but I guess I could have switched out for this. But the thing is, like, just such good abilities. Like having Defiant or Prankster is so nice, and the fact that you get Prankster Tailwind, and it's extremely fast. Well, base 111. I mean, it's so good. I know in PC3, the one just happened. Like the guy had it as a Prankster, but also with Life Orb, so he could Dynamax it. Like it was just a super cool set. Very surprised to see it there. The Urshifus, again, super surprised to see it there. I mean, if you have Aqua Jet stuff you want to set up, or if you just need like some strong offense, like just grab an Urshifu. Oh my gosh, being able to hit through Protect is super annoying for teams. So I feel like tier 1s are really going to shift up people's teams the most, but that's why I went through a little more time on those ones. But I'm going to go through tiers 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. Nah, I already did a video on tier 5, so I won't go through those, but 2, 3, and 4 I'm going to go through a little bit faster, and just pick out mods that I think can be pretty useful for teams. Let's see, so Arctozote, I feel like, okay, so Hail Mode is another thing I feel like that gets just left on the board a lot. I know some people have Hail Modes with like Arctobish, but you can definitely grab like Arctozote Aurorus or Arctozolt Abomasnow. I think that's a really cool combo because Aurorus isn't that good because they're both weak to ground. I mean, I know Ice is weak to ground, or good against ground, but at least Abomasnow resists ground and has good stab against it. Let's see. Bisharp I really like. Again, deters, intimidates, and strong stab sucker punches are I think underrated, and it's just so nice. I really like Bisharp. It also deters them from using max moves that lower your mon stats, like max strike, max ghost, max darkness. So if you have Pokemon that are weak to that, that's also a good pickup. Plus, because it resists those too. Let's see, Braviary I don't think is that bad. I haven't used it too much, but again, Defiance is an amazing ability, and it can be super annoying with max stat, max Airstreams. Crobat, you got fast Tailwind. The other thing about picking up a fast mon like Crobat is it really screws with speed prepping against opponents. So if you're going to speed creep their fastest mon, well, if they have Crobat, it just kind of, let's, like, for example, I know some teams, like, their fastest mon on their team might be base 110, or base 100 even. And personally, I don't like drafting like that. I mean, maybe you have a weather mode to, like, double your speed or something like that, but I like having mons with fast base speed. That's why I like Boldened. But I like having mons with fast base speed because it does mess with their prep a little bit. So I think Crobat's one like that. And again, Inner Focus Tailwind can really change the dynamic of your team if you have a really strong, like, base 70 or 80 attacker. and you're constantly struggling with speeds, you know, having speed advantage on your opponents, I think Crobat's a great pickup. Let's see, who else? Dreadnought, you could go rain mode. That's kind of nice. I think Gengar's pretty interesting. It is another one of those fast bonds. I mean, you can Dynamax it, and Max Ghost and Max Ooze are pretty interesting. I personally wouldn't go with the Perish with G-Max mode, unless you have a really good team with that, but I don't think really anybody really drafted teams for that this time. But it's, you know, you got fast Icy Winds, you can do Will-O-Wisp, you can do Destiny Bond, you can do some cool stuff with it, and I think it could be a solid pickup for people. Hawlucha, especially if people drafted Terrain, I think is really interesting. It gets, the other thing is you can do weakness policy with like Volt Switch or Ice Shard, so I think there's a lot of options, or even like Sylveon Quick Attack, but like there's a lot of options for people to run weakness policy Hawlucha stuff. So it's a fairly splashable mon, is what I'm trying to say, for people's teams. Let's see, who else do I like that's gotten left on here? Mandibuzz, I think, is solid for a defensive switch-in. If people think their team needs a little more defense, a little more utility, I think Mandibuzz is great at that. You got strong stab foul play. You got knockoff. I don't know if it gets Tailwind, but it's you can also do some cheesy weak armor stuff, weakness policy with it, with like Ice Shard or something. So I don't know. I like Mandibuzz, and I think it's overlooked a lot. But I think that's really solid if you're trying to go for, you know, if you need a little more defense on your team. Again, Ninetales, I mean, weather modes. There's not too much more to say. Oranguru is a really interesting pick for if you really need to set up Trick Room. It only has 2 weaknesses, Kasib, so you can run like Kasib or Colbur Berry if you really think you're gonna get one shot by something. But you can also run Inner Focus if you think you're gonna get like Inner Focus and Mental Herb, so that you can't get flinched or taunted. So it gives you a really consistent way to set up Trick Room, and yeah, you can do some cool symbiosis or symbiosis stuff too. So I think that's pretty neat. Persian Alola, I think, is really solid. If you've got a Justified Mon you might want to use, you can do, again, fast Icy Winds, foul play, that type of stuff. I think it gives you some really good utility. If you run Fur Coat, you might not get one shot either, so you don't necessarily have to waste Sash on it. I think Persian Alola is some great utility, especially, again, that type of thing. I think it might be base 115 speed. But yeah, if you've got a slower team, like under base 110 or base 100 or less, picking up a fast support mon like that, I think, is a really solid choice. Let's see. Again, you can go Hail Mode. People leave them on the bench. Again, you can go like Sand Slash or you know, Abomasnow or something. Let's see. Runerigus, not bad. Togedemaru, I think, is really solid. It's really annoying with Lightning Rod. You've got fast Fake Out. You don't have to run Sash because you can also run Sturdy. I think next paired to a nice water type, you could do some really cool stuff with it. Okay, yeah, that's most of the tier 2s. Let's talk about tier 3s. Archeops. I really like Archeops. You can run physical or special. You can do. You got fast Tailwind. I don't think Defeatus is as bad as people think it is. You can do some other. I mean, because you can run supportive stuff on Archeops too. Like fast Rock Slide flinches are just annoying, but also you can run Taunt. You can do like Sash Endeavor. You can. There's other ways to utilize Archeops. You can do like Power, Meteor Beam, or Sky Attack. I think it's really cool. Articuno, you can do Ice Shard stuff. Articuno, I think, is underused, but it's got to fit on the right team. It's tough to make it work, but I've used it before. Let's see, who else do I like here? Credilli for Storm Drain, if you feel like your team's really weak to water. Great pickup there. Who else? I think Drapeon's an interesting mon. It's sort of a little bit bulkier attacker, and you can run some different items on it too, which I like. Like you can do scope lens, cross poison, and night slash stuff. You can do, or you can just run AV and make it pretty bulky. So I like those. The Doug Trios I also really like. You know, fast bulldozes. You got Sucker Punch, weakness policy stuff. You can also do Arena Trap with Doug Trio, which can be really, really annoying. And I like the fast support. You can also just like Memento and do different stuff like that. Like, again, it's goes back to the fast support type of stuff. Executor Lola I think is really nice. Frisk, I've been using Gorgegeist Frisk. I really love it in draft. It's so nice for best of 3 when you get to just get that information right off the bat and see what they're going for. So Frisk is super useful. You know, people again have been leaving hail modes on the bench and whatnot. I think ice types are overlooked a lot, and so people might not have ice types to hit this thing for double super effective, or at least stab. And you can go, you know, Trick Room offensive. I mean, I think it's a really, really cool Pokemon. Flapple could work. You could do some interesting you know, gravity stuff if you have the right team for it, but it does offer some Hostile Dynamax offense, so that's kind of nice. Frostlass, good fast support. I really like Frostlass. You know, stab Icy Winds are annoying. And you got Will-O-Wisp, and I think it just goes back to the fast support. Golduck I think is really cool. I probably wouldn't draft it with Rain. I know I have it in UGA and I like using it over there. I think there's some cool stuff you can do with it. But overall I think it gets a lot of cool moves. It's just not super, it doesn't have the best base stats is the problem. But it does get a lot of cool moves, and if you did want to use it with Rain mode, I think you got potential. I mean, it's got just as much special attack as Kingdra. You just don't have the Dragon Stab. Gotharita is another really bulky one. You can run with Eviolite. You can do Trick Room. You can make it, you know, you won't be putting out offense, but you can do really annoying supportive stuff with Gotharita. Let's see, Kabutops I think is a great one. You can run a couple different abilities. Most of the time you run Weak Armor or Swift Swim, but great Swift Swim user. And then with you know, with Life Orb you can hit pretty hard. But you can also do cool weakness policy, weak armor stuff with either Earthquake, even technically Bulldoze. You just be at +1 speed, and everybody else would be at -1. But yeah, you can do Earthquake, Bulldoze, or even like Mach Punch or something like that. So some cool weak armor stuff there. Cling Clang, you can do interesting stuff with plus or minus. It also gets Trick Room, which I don't know if people know, but you can go Trick Room, you can go Shift Gear. Not a huge move pool, but I think it's pretty interesting on the right team. Leafeon is an amazing Chlorophyll user. Lilligant's not bad either, but I think it's probably the best with Torkoal. And yeah, these two, you don't even necessarily have to have a Sunsetter. You could just have like a fast Sunny Day user, or a fast, or a Prankster one like Purloin. But Leafeon's super, super cool. Mainly because I think it's the only Chlorophyll user that also gets Rain Dance. So you can constantly keep the rain up if you want, if people want a Sepson. And then you can just switch the weather if you have a Swift Swim user. That's what I did last season. That was really fun. Ranthus is bad. Luxray I really like because, again, you can run multiple abilities. Intimidate's super nice. And it can hit really hard with Guts, Flame Orb. You get really nice supportive moves too. Helping Hand, Eerie Impulse, Baby Doll Eyes. Definitely not bad. Manton I really like, actually. Manton's interesting, gets Wide Guard. It's actually not a bad Swift Swim user, especially because it gets Stab Max Airstreams too, which is really cool. And yeah, I like Manton. I mean, that like, it gives you or your team a lot of good special bulk too if you're if you're weak on the special defensive side. And again, you pair it with something like with Lightning Rod, like pair it with like a Rhyperior or something, or that Togedemaru that's left on the board, and you can do some interesting stuff with it. Mr. Mime, Galar, and Mr. Rhyme, I really like. They can go Trick Room. I feel like people don't set up screens or Royal too much, but Screen Cleaner is nice against those type of teams. But then, yeah, you can do Ice Shard, Weakness Policy stuff. Not great defensive typings, but I like them. Let's see, who's left? Another Rotom. I feel like people overlook Rotom Frost a lot too, because Blizzard isn't the best out of Hail, but and like there's other better Rotoms. But like if you just think Rotom's good in general and you don't want to waste the tier 1 switch for Rotom Wash, I mean, just grab Rotom Frost for tier 3. It's a huge budget pick there, and it's like, yeah, Blizzard it doesn't always hit in the Hail, but unless you're in Hail, but you can just give it Life Orb and max it, like I said, just max Ice. I don't think Electric Ice is a bad typing, especially with Levitate. I mean, you're really only weak to Rock and Fire then, I think, because Steel's neutral on you, or in Fighting, I guess. So 3 weaknesses, but still, you got Will-O-Wisp, and you can still do nasty plot stuff. I think it's a really good pick. Surfetch, you can offer a lot of good fighting offense. First Impression's also pretty interesting, and you've got Scrappy to hit Ghost types, so that's cool, and immune to Intimidate, so I like that. Starmie I really like. Again, one of those fast supportive, but also you can just go, max it and hit stuff hard right off the bat. So I think Starmie's interesting. Or you can also do weak fast flip turns to proc weakness policies, or absorb bulbs or something like that. Tauros is another really cool one. Tauros is fast and it gets Intimidate. I really don't think Tauros is that bad. You could make it offensive too, I guess, if you wanted, but yeah, I like it. Serena is awesome. It's super, it's got the unique ability, and then so I think it really throws off prankster teams or people who really rely on fake out, like if you're trying to set something up. And so I think Serena's really nice for that. And also just, super strong. Or you can even make her a little bit bulkier too. Like, Serena's got really good stats. Big fan of Serena. Vaporeon. Wishy-Washy's actually not bad. You can go physical or special. If you need it for Trick Room mode, I don't mind Wishy-Washy, to be honest. I mean, it hits super hard. So, let's see. Last tier here. Tier 4, again, Hail mode. Absol has super strong physical attack, and so you get this thing in Tailwind, or you just throw a Choice Scarf on it, and you can hit really hard. Let's see here. Blossom you could use in a Sun mode. I don't think Avalug's terrible, to be honest, especially because you get sturdy, so you don't have to waste a sash on it. But also you can just do big defense. Like if the other team you're facing is super physical, you can just go Iron Defense and recover, and that's a really good set there. Carbink's nice for setting up Trick Room. Bronzor for bulky Trick Room. I mean, there are some bulky Trick Room setters here if people want to go Trick Room modes. If you think yours isn't strong enough. Corsa Galar's annoying for stall stuff. Let's see. I really don't think Cryogonal's that bad. It's fast, it gets screens, it's got decent special bulk, and then you can also just throw off strong Stab Ice, which, again, I think is left on the bench a lot in draft. I also really don't mind Doughblade with Eviolite, and it's super bulky, especially on the defensive side, or mainly on the defensive side. It's got decent special bulk, but then also just in Trick Room, like it can hit super hard, and Stab, Steel, and Ghost is a really nice combination there. Because you can either just make yourself even more bulky, or you can just start lowering their defense and hitting harder with your max Ghosts. Fletchender I think is really cool. You got essentially Prankster Tailwind. You can also go Will-O-Wisp and Sash and stuff. and you know, an Overheat will still chunk. Fire Stab. I think Flesh Endure is an interesting pick. Garbodor you can do some interesting weak armor stuff with. Jinx I don't think it's that bad. You've got Skill Swap Dry Skin. You've got Trick Room, Fake Out. Forewarn I think is kind of interesting. It's like in draft, if you don't need to run the other abilities, Dry Skin or Oblivious, you can just run Forewarn and kind of see what move they're using. And it can sometimes give you a hint as to what their game plan is. So I think that's kind of interesting. Let's see who else do I like. Omastar is not terrible for Swift Swim. Pikachu is actually really interesting. You get Light Ball, it hits pretty hard. You get Fake Out and Lightning Rod. Can be super nice if you have a strong water type. You know, just pick up like Pikachu and Urshifu Rapid Strike. You know. It's not a bad combo. I think Lucian used that last year. Who else do I like? Sharpedo I think is interesting with Speed Boost. And it hits pretty hard. Let's see who else. We're getting to the bottom of the list here, but last one I'll probably talk about here is Type Null. Type Null I used last year, or last season, I should say. And with Eviolite, it's super bulky. You don't have to run Eviolite. You know, it's got 95 base stat and everything, so it's got some decent bulk, but it's pretty nice. You can run some Stolly sets or some different supportive sets, or even offensive sets with it. You might need a little setup, but pretty underrated mon in my opinion. And yeah, these are just some of the mons I feel like that were left on the board that. You know, I guess I'm not super surprised that some of them were left here, but you can do some. Oh, Poltergeist, you can do weak armor, Sucker Punch stuff with, and a lot of random stuff gets Sucker Punch, or even Shadow Sneak, and so that's pretty cool. I think you can do some really cool stuff with Poltergeist. Definitely underutilized in my opinion. But yeah, I think some of these. I mean, there's ones I didn't talk about here that people can definitely make use of, but. I just feel like, you know, sometimes when people in draft leagues go, and I did this in another one actually one time. You go down a couple games. I think you're halfway through the season. And you're like, you know what? I haven't really been bringing this mon. Or even like if you feel like on paper it should work, but then when you start prepping for teams, and you're like, you know what? I just never really find a way to fit this mon onto my comps. You know what? Why not just switch it out for something and try something else out, and then see if it can, you know, see if you can make it work, and or even when you're prepping, you're like, and you feel like, oh, you know, like I feel like I need some more defense or I need some more offense. You know, come look at the transactions, see what's on the board, see what's available in the tier list here, and maybe switch it up. So. Definitely want to see some people utilizing the transactions. I myself might, but it'd be really cool to keep this league competitive and whatnot, which it already is really competitive. So I'm liking how this season's turned out so far. Halfway through, really exciting, and I can't wait to see what happens the rest of the season. I have a feeling some people are going to switch up their teams. I don't know. We'll see. But thanks for playing and thanks for watching, everybody. It'll be interesting to see if anything comes out of this, but yeah, hopefully some people find this helpful. Let me know in the comments if you did, or yeah, I think that's gonna be it. So peace out.